Meet the LG G2 OLED TV. This is the latest installment in LG's Gallery Series lineup, which sits just above the C Series, like the C1 that Tom's Guide named the best TV of last year. We're talking about the G Series, though, which in 2022 promises to be LG's brightest OLED TV ever. And guess what? It is. We'll take a look at test results and more in this full review. Again, the LG G2 is the company's top shelf 4K OLED TV this year, and it has a premium price to match. This will probably fall among the most expensive sets we'll test this year, but it comes in two bigger sizes than before, making this the largest Gallery Series collection yet. The smallest option is 55 inches at $2,199, and this 65-inch configuration we tested costs $2,999. The 77 and 83-inch sizes get exponentially pricier, and the massive 97-inch size doesn't even have a price ticket yet, though we saw it a few months ago, and let me just say, wow. As the name suggests, LG's Gallery Series TVs prioritize design. It's made to be wall-mounted with a proprietary mechanism that comes in the box. The compatible stand that you see here is practical for testing, though not the best option for the real Gallery Series effect. The set is wrapped by a minimalistic silver frame with subtle texture, but it doesn't curl over the screen, maintaining a bezel-less appearance. The G2 OLED TV's 1-inch deep body holds everything the TV needs, so you won't find a rear protruding component box like you might on some other OLED TVs. The uniform chassis also features a recessed mount and input panels on the back. Thanks to a neat cable management system, all those unsightly cords are kept well organized. And while we're back here, you'll find 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. HDMI 2.1 supports frame rates up to 120 Hz with 4K video, plus an enhanced audio return channel. As you might know, gaming benefits from HDMI 2.1. It's what makes settings like variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode possible. If you're looking to leverage the next-gen graphics of the PS5 or Xbox Series X consoles, you're going to want to use those settings. The G2 also supports NVIDIA G-Sync, NVIDIA GeForce Now, Google Stadia Cloud Gaming, and AMD FreeSync. Additional connections include 3 USB ports, 1 Ethernet port, and an RF coaxial plug for cord cutters. The Gallery Series lost the headphone jack, but it does still have the ATSC 3.0 tuner, which has built-in next-gen TV, which provides 4K broadcasts over the air and a return channel that allows for interactivity and targeted advertising in select cities. Now let's get to the good stuff, performance and test results. Here at Tom's Guide, we do a combination of anecdotal reporting and lab testing, so I can tell you a little bit about what I saw and how that lines up with our lab results. Watching Dune gave me a pretty good understanding of the LG G2 OLED TV's performance. Thanks to pixels that can be turned off entirely or cause these so-called perfect blacks, I looked closely in dark or nighttime scenes where subtle shades of black may be a challenge to differentiate. Yet the black shades in Timothée Chalamet's iconic wet look locks did him justice. The inky strands looked real enough to run a brush through. Then, in the infamous box scene, we notice how the Ben Gesserit's mother's beaded face veil seemed to pop out of the screen with such a sharpened focus. That all seems to be LG's AI Picture Pro and Alpha 9 Gen 5 processor in the works. Overall, this set has some of the best dynamic tone mapping I've ever seen. Moving on to Spider-Man: No Way Home, I took a closer look at color, picture clarity, and motion handling performance. One thing I'll note that I specifically liked was the slight color and texture differences between each Spider-Man suit, which is obviously intentional. I get way more into these anecdotes in my written review, but let's go take a look at test results. Now, I'll admit, I first saw this set side by side with last year's LG C1 OLED and this year's LG C2 OLED, and this one blows both of them away in terms of brightness and brightness control. I'll even admit that when we tested the G1 last year, I was kind of disappointed by the new LG Evo branding. I didn't think it really delivered, but this one does. It's what I was looking for. It is a truly brighter OLED TV. The LG G2 reached a max brightness of almost 600 nits, which is a considerable improvement over the LG G1's 412 nits. Nearly 600 nits is excellent by OLED standards. Again, OLED, not LED or QLED, and it is only bested by the Sony Bravia XR A80J OLED TV, which got as high as 700 nits last year. Color accuracy is another highlight of the G2 OLED TV. It earned a Delta E score of 1.3. Any result of 2 or lower is good, with the lower scores being more accurate. In terms of Delta E, that's a slight improvement over last year's LG G2 OLED TV, and it's much better than Samsung's QN90A QLED TV with Neo QLED. The LG G2 also provides an impressively wide color gamut, producing 131% of the Rec. 709 color space, surpassing the basic color standard by a significant margin. Those scores are mostly the same as last year's G1 and C1 OLED TVs, but it is slightly better than the Sony A80J OLED TV. Lastly, when it comes to lag times, the Gallery series remains a good gaming option. It measured a lag time of just 13.1 milliseconds, making it a strong gaming TV recommendation, given it's probably one of the most expensive alternatives to a gaming monitor you'll find. When it comes to audio quality, the LG G2 OLED TV's audio performance is among the most impressive I've seen from an OLED TV, and I'm generally very skeptical of using an OLED TV without a soundbar. It packs a very good selection of sound modes, from standard and cinema to sports and music, and even one that amplifies voices. But the default the set encourages during setup is AI Sound Pro, which upgrades the set's standard 2.1 stereo to virtual 5.1 surround sound, attempting to add dimension and height to audio. Listening to Fall Out Boy's Just One Yesterday with AI Sound Pro emphasized the vocals megaphone effect, creating a stadium concert atmosphere in our testing studio. AI Sound Pro also added a lot of dimension to things like the sand moving everywhere in Dune, and it added a 3D or immersive soundscape to scenes like when Peter and MJ return to the utter chaos of Peter's home after the whole world just found out he's Spider-Man. All of this year's LG TVs ship with WebOS 2022, which is an evolution of WebOS 6.0. User profiles are new, there are new game optimizer settings, and I found some new sports streaming apps since last year. But all in all, it's mostly the same experience as last year's G1 experience. Content is navigated on a whole screen homepage, meaning you will need to stop what you're watching to search for something new. At least you can adjust some key settings easily without interrupting your show. I go into some of the new ThinQ app features in our written review, as well as smart home functions if you're interested in that. The TV does have Alexa and Google Assistant support built in for hands-free controls. It also has these dedicated launchers on the remote. While we're looking at the remote, it's pretty much unchanged from the G1's remote, including the launch buttons for these services. It trimmed down the crowded design LG previously favored for more of a streamlined experience. You can navigate with the buttons or by wireless cursor, which will never not feel like using a Wii remote. Just to wrap up my thoughts, I feel like LG truly stepped up its game this year with OLED Evo. I think it's better positioned to challenge QD OLED, which is the technology that Sony and Samsung are betting on. I will say the price makes it more of a serious purchase, and it's going to be hard to recommend this over the LG C2 OLED TV. That said, if you know you want the Gallery series look, you're ready to wall mount your TV, etc., I can promise you will not be disappointed by the performance. If this wasn't a thorough enough overview, my written review hopefully has answers to any outstanding questions you might have. As always, you can find me on tomsguide.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok for more. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.